This is David Kurtz for TPM Media. It's Tuesday, September 2nd, 2008, and we're reporting from St. Paul, the site of the Republican National Convention. The buzz of the convention and most of the media coverage is still focused on Alaska Governor Sarah Palin, the vice presidential pick. Josh did a post yesterday saying that he hadn't yet seen that many elected officials acting as surrogates in defense of Palin yet. But this morning we actually had a panel discussion here sponsored by Politico, where a series of Republican office holders leapt to her defense. And I think the talking point here for Republicans is game changer, that Palin shakes up the race in a way that no other vice presidential prospect, at least on McCain's final list, would have shaken the race up. My sense for talking with people here in St. Paul is that there's basically three categories of reactions to the Palin nomination. The base, the grassroots, the right-wing conservative, religious conservatives seem to be very excited about the pick, both in terms of her background, her sensibilities, what she says about the Republican Party, having a fresh face and that kind of thing. So those people are on board. Also on board are the official surrogates, the official campaign apparatus, who obviously are paid to support the decision of the candidate. No surprise there. Then the third group, which is a little harder to get a read on, is the political consultants, the Republican experts, those people who know elections. And I think by and large, there's some hesitation, some concern. They acknowledge the risks of this pick. They see that the vetting process was somewhat different than other vetting processes have been. We talked a little while ago to Republican consultant Mike Murphy, who didn't go so far as to say that the vetting process was either late or non-existent, but did acknowledge that there were a lot of risks to this pick. I talked to a prominent Republican pundit yesterday who described the reaction amongst the chattering class Republicans she talked to as being the look of a questioning dog. They just can't quite figure it out. They can't quite understand why her, why now, why such a late introduction into the process for her, and how could the McCain campaign have arrived at this decision. At the panel discussion we just attended this morning, Ohio Republican Congresswoman Deborah Price said the Palin pick was the most excited she's ever been in politics. Michigan Representative Candace Miller, also a Republican, said that she wasn't even planning on attending the convention until the Palin pick was announced, and she came down for it. And they were definitely amongst the official surrogate crowd here being rolled out to support Palin. But I think the argument that you hear them making, which is a little bit inconsistent at this stage, is that while Palin doesn't have much experience, that, vice presidential picks don't really decide elections, and that so long as McCain has the experience that he has, everything will be fine for the GOP. But the flip side of that argument is that Palin is fresh and new, and she shows change, and she shows that she can take on the establishment, and she shows that this isn't more of the same. And that somehow her vice presidential status in that respect will turn the election. So it's sort of a contradictory argument. On the one hand, her lack of experience doesn't count against her because it doesn't really matter. She's only the vice president. On the other hand, it's going to change the election even though she is the vice president because she's a change candidate. So you kind of hear both arguments being made at the same time. It'll be curious to see which one holds sway. It's hard to imagine that both can continue to be made simultaneously. So that's the latest on the Palin selection here from St. Paul. This is David Kurtz for TPM Media.